And now from the Bedroomer Studios, a special presentation for Grandma Dier. Tales of the Captain Duke, the Stowaway Debutante.
Chapter 7, in which our heroine begins to understand her choice. Clara stared down at the activity below. She was sitting aloft on the lookout platform suspended between the balloon and the foredeck, with Cat and Mouse, enjoying a small snack as they took their break from training on the ropes. She had grown more and more comfortable with the heights as her training progressed. She remembered her first flight with Cat as though it were yesterday. It was so very different than gliding with her brother around the aisle, so much farther above the ground. Mouse had shown her the different ways to launch oneself from the airship safely and the steps to take in an emergency. The young boy was so knowledgeable, and yet he shared the information in such an easygoing way that it was a joy to learn from him. With Cat's light frame strapped next to hers, she learned to manipulate the glider along the air currents, to feel the pressure on the wings as though they were an extension of her own body. Finally, they had deemed her ready to fly on her own. It was hard to describe such a perfect experience, but Clara turned it over and over in her mind, not wanting to forget a single detail. At their signal, she had allowed herself to fall forward from the ropes, giving in to the terrifying sensation of falling for only a second before the currents caught the wings and she steered smoothly over the water. She angled around the ship. She flew in wide, sweeping arcs, feeling the rush as she climbed higher and banked her wings against the wind. She circled the balloons and dove down beneath the airship before gliding up the other side. Her body was tight, focused on every minute adjustment needed to control the glider, but her heart was open, embracing the joy and exhilaration of the flight. How could she possibly explain it? It was unlike anything she had felt before. Clara now understood why her brother was so fascinated with his inventions. He was always fiddling with his gadgets, taking things apart and putting them together again. He loved his gliders more than anything. It was one thing to go along for the ride. Flying solo was a completely different experience. "You're thinking about it, right?" Cat asked. "What?" Clara asked, breaking from her reverie. "Your first flight. I can see that dreamy look in your eyes." Clara reached out and tousled the curly mop of hair. Cat and her brother both had caramel-colored curls that turned gold at the sun-kissed ends. They could have been twins but for their ages. Identical pairs of dark blue eyes shimmered with mirth. They made her miss her own brother very much. "What was yours like?" she asked the younger girl. "I've been on airships as long as I can remember. Papa taught me to use a parachute glider when I was 5, in case there was an emergency. I was flying my own glider by the time I was 7. Papa took us around in a sling when we were babes, so I already knew the basics. He said Mama watches over with us, so we're safe as angels." "How old were you when... Cat scrunched her nose. "When he died?" 9. Mouse was only 3. He couldn't fly yet, but I found the captain like Papa told me, and we taught him." "You must have been very brave. My father died this past spring, and I miss him very much." "Yes," Cat said, patting Clara's hand gently. "But the captain takes care of us now. That's what Papa said. Find the Captain Duke, and he'll do right by you. Now we're pilots, just like him, and he's an angel with Mama." Mouse left the wind monitors and came to sit at her other side. "I remember him. He had a big hat. He found me in the pantry and said I must be a wee mouse because I was always getting into the food." Clara laughed. "Is that how you came by your name?" "Well, my real name is Morris, I suppose," he said. "But really I'm just Mouse. I'm Catherine Mary Margaret Waugh." "Well, then I'm Morris Alexander James Waugh," he said. Then he leaned in to whisper in Clara's ear, "But please just call me Mouse. I like it better." "I think Morris is a lovely name," she teased, "but you will always be Mouse to me." The young boy allowed himself to be pulled into her lap for a hug. "Did you have no other family?" "Some cousins, but most of them moved across the ocean." "Is that where yours went, Clara?" asked Cat. "My brother is in Oxford, and my mother is in Europe visiting my aunt." "Oh, so you'll see them again soon." Clara sighed and looked out over the landscape. "What's your name, Clara?" asked Mouse, turning his head up to look at her. "Clara, Elizabeth..." She cut herself off, noticing the Captain Duke standing below them. When he realized he had their attention, he called for them to join him, and they quickly made their way down the rope ladders. The two young pilots made it to the deck first, as usual, and were already frowning when she joined them. "We'll be announcing the next raid at supper this evening," said the captain. "Well, if Clara gets to be a part of it, then we do too," Kat said, crossing her arms. "2 more years, little Kat. Not until you are 16 and can best Nessa in a duel. Yes, yes, we know," she said. "In any case, Claire will be joining the two of you. I expect you to show her how to take the necessary precautions." Clara interrupted. "I know it's my first raid, but certainly I can be of some assistance." She was not pleased by the way he addressed Kat while she stood right there beside her. "We need fighters, experienced pilots," he said. Clara raised an eyebrow. "And what shall we do in the meantime? Embroidery?" "It's not the worst idea," the captain began. He stopped after receiving twin glares from Clara and Kat. Your role is to observe and learn. If you can manage that, I'll have Nessa include you in their training." Cat and Mouse accepted their assignment, and the captain dismissed them. Then he turned to Clara. "The raid is in 3 days. There's a small town we will be passing over before then. If you like, you may disembark at their port." Clara burned. "You wish me gone." "I wish to know if you are committed to our cause," he said. "And observing this raid is to be a test of that? Well, yes." Clara sighed. "Have I not been charged with updating your account books?" "Yes," the captain said, raising a quizzical brow. "So then could it not be argued that I am already rather knowledgeable about our cause, and can be trusted to conduct myself in an appropriate manner? I have seen the ledgers. You target the grain shipments and other essential goods. Approximately 15 to 20% are accounted for in trading for our own needs and payment to the crew. The other 80% disappear from the books." Clara paused at the captain's stern look, taking a breath before continuing. "I am no chartered accountant, but I have employed the double entry system as consistently as I am able, and these missing goods must have been transferred elsewhere. Am I correct in assuming they made it into deserving hands? We can discuss this after the raid." "Why?" Clara asked. "Because our methods of obtaining these goods may not suit your sensibilities. You will observe before you make your choice." "I have already made it through one of your raids. I saved all of you. I am quite capable of handling myself in distressing circumstances. I know I am." "No, you know nothing. You were safely hidden away, as you shall be for the next," he said, stepping in closer until she had to crane her neck to meet his gaze. "How am I to know if I'm hidden away once more? Have you ever been faced with the barrel of another's gun? Their sword?" "No, but Nessa was not trying to kill or maim you," he said. Then he softened. "Clara, I cannot allow you to take part in the action until I am assured that you are battle-ready. We avoid bloodshed when we can, but we are not always successful. We fight, we steal, we have killed, and are likely to do so again. We have lost pilots, good ones. You may cloak our cause as justice, but never delude yourself into believing it is not crime. When you commit to this, I expect you to commit wholly, without reservation. Observe this raid, then you may make your choice." Clara was silent, turning his words over in her mind. She took a deep, shaky breath and gave a curt nod. The captain reached out and drew her arms forward. He took hold of her hands, uncurling the fists that had formed at her sides. "I am grateful to you for saving our crew. You are one of the most promising pilots I have seen in years, and you fly as though you were born to it. But these are not the hands of a warrior." Clara looked down at her hands, soft and delicate, fingers stained black with ink. It made her feel strangely to see them in the captain's grasp. His own were rough from rope and wind, but they were still the hands of an artist. "Very well," she said. "I will stay with Cat and Mouse." Then she looked him in his eyes. "But you will teach me to defend my crew." He smiled, showing his teeth and dimples. "We have a deal." The captain left to take his turn at the watch. Clara stood tall at the rail and looked out at the horizon, deep in thought. Was this what she wanted? A life of crime? A life where she must fight, possibly even kill, another herself? Her heart fell at the thought of losing any of the crew she had come to know and love. The Captain Duke spoke the truth. She was not prepared, not nearly. What if she was not capable, after all? She would be forced to leave the airship in shame. Clara knew the captain would never permit her to stay unless she was a full partner to their cause. She could not endanger the rest of the crew. All her training in life was useless to her in this. She carefully considered her options. Was she really ready to commit to this life? It was time for her to acknowledge the seriousness of this venture, and Clara had never felt so unsure of herself.